satellites? A satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth.
Satellite Haiku, welcome to the Milo in Florida edition.
Milo in Florida edition, Sean still in San Francisco edition.
Nice. Yeah, it's so fun to, we're headed into the holidays. I am...
Is everybody there?
No, so it's just me and my parents until Tuesday.
Okay.
And then my Colombian brother-in-law and sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and a grandchild, or my nephew. And then a little brother and his new partner are coming. And so it'll be we're all going to stay at my sister's house, and she's going to Kenya to visit her daughter. So it's going to be...
Your younger sister or your older sister?
My older sister moved to Michigan, and my younger sister still lives in Florida. And so we're taking over her condo house, her like vertical, her townhouse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my wife said, I don't remember the name of the show. Is there a show called Modern Family?
Yeah.
So
I've watched a few. It's really funny.
It's funny,
I've
right?
watched I watched a handful of episodes of it.
Do you know the name of that actress that is the Colombian wife?
I can't remember her name.
What's funny
off the top of my head. Yeah.
Anyway, so when my wife was saying Gloria. Anyway, my wife was saying, I'm going to be like her, and it's going to be, it's going to be like Gringos. And, and we're having my parents over for Christmas, and I'm trying to convince my mom that she doesn't have to do anything at all. I keep saying to my mom,
How is she with that?
Well, she's struggling to, when she has over her ex-son-in-law and niece for dinner, for instance, she stresses out and goes shopping and cleans the house. And I said, Mom, once you're 80, because she's 81, I was like, once you're 80, I feel like you should be allowed to say, I did it all. I'm just, here's what I want you to do. Go and get me a chicken and bring it over and some, this and that.
I remember talking to a friend, Val. Remember Val? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I remember talking to his mom when she was in her probably her early 70s. They started having kids when she was on the older side.
Yeah, she was really, yeah.
So, and she was like, the thing about being in your 70s is you don't feel like you're the same person you were when you were a teenager. Like, you have to keep reminding yourself that you're in your 70s. You know what I mean? Like, in some ways you feel physically older, but like your consciousness, your being is the same. So it's like, like that argument to your mom, like you're 80 now, right? And somewhere inside, like that, she's just the same person, right? Like you can't.
Totally.
It's hard to internalize the idea that you're 80, probably.
Yeah, I think I'm jumping the gun because I had kids young, and I'm 50. Mm-hmm. I'll be 57 in February, and I have a grandchild, and I just kind of I'm not like as ambitious. I'm not pushing myself the way I did. I'm giving myself a break.
Same.
I'm like, hey man,
same. Same.
Come on,
and
man.
so like you're passing that sentiment along to her.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some ways she does give herself a break. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you can think of some, but yeah.
Well, and truth be told, like my mom has or had rheumatoid arthritis, and we call her the bionic mom. She has reconstructed joints. She has a reconstructed big toe, knee, 2 hips, a shoulder, and a thumb.
Wow, that's a lot.
So we call her the bionic mom. And
does she have any sensation in her thumb that's reconstructed? That seems like that would be tricky.
It's the joint. So it's probably like this big joint. I don't know, actually. That's a great question. So basically, I think they go in there and they scrape out all these part of things that are. But and supposedly her doctor said to her, guess what? Your rheumatoid arthritis is in remission. Like you don't have it anymore, which is kind of rare. They don't really understand rheumatoid arthritis. It's an autoimmune disease.
It's such a weird thing, yeah.
You attack your joints.
My younger brother, it seems to have disappeared with him too.
Wow.
And, I mean, he never had like a really definitive diagnosis.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I think he has issues with Western medicine in general. So I'm not sure he ever and he also didn't have jobs and stuff that gave him health insurance and whatnot for periods of time. So I think I'm not sure he ever attempted through Western medicine anyway to get like a real diagnosis. I'm not sure he made a rigorous or thorough attempt to get a diagnosis because of external extenuating factors and also his own internal sort of like sentiment towards Western medicine.
But what was the thing that would have led him? Like, what did he have a joint that was starting to degrade over?
Oh, do you remember he could barely walk for like like 2 years of his life?
Old? Yeah.
My younger
was thinking
brother,
of
yeah.
the younger. Okay, the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, because no one really. It's one of those weird things. Like no one really understands it. Like
I think he blames it on vaccines.
Okay, sure.
That's his story today, I think. But
Right.
I feel like I got in an argument once with him where he was not an argument, but like in somewhere, not about this, but like in somewhere in our back and forth, I think he sort of accused me. These are the wrong words, but like he was expressing some outrage at me about the idea that I had dismissed his self-diagnosis of like this was a vaccine side effect. And I don't remember him honestly ever saying that back then. Like it seemed to me that that explanation for his rheumatoid, I feel like is something he came to later. Like I don't remember him ever telling me that, oh, this was from taking the flu vaccine or whatever I don't know which vaccine even, but like, yeah, it's such an interesting thing. So is your older sister, who you mentioned you guys don't really talk, is she going to be there for the holidays?
No.
No.
And my niece flew down from Michigan. She's going to school there, and she's staying with her dad, and they both got COVID. So yesterday, so I don't know, but we took them chicken soup.
So in that situation, when in this relationship where you guys don't really talk, if you're in the same house, like how does that work, or how does that feel? Does that happen?
It never happens. Yeah, it hasn't for years. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, because I was at my mom's and my younger brother, not my youngest brother, but my younger brother was there. He came, and I was my mom was worried about it. Like I hadn't seen him since kind of we stopped talking. And we didn't like make an official agreement to stop talking. It was just sort of like we stopped talking, right? Like I don't think either one of us said I'm never talking to you again or anything like that. It was just anyway, so it was after my mom's heart attack, and I went there to kind of take care of her, and he had been there, but then he was going to on this kind of trip to buy a vehicle for himself in Minnesota, I think. Mm-hmm. It was like a decommissioned ambulance.
Oh, I did. I think he told me about that.
That's a whole story. Yeah. So then he was driving back with that, and he was gonna.
Can you live in those? Can you outfit them to live in them or something?
Well, that was his plan, to kind of convert it into like a camper, because he had done that with a van, like one of those econo vans or step vans or something, that like he turned it into a like a camper, and then he sold it, and he made a little money from doing that work and flipping it basically. So I think he had planned with this ambulance to like have it for himself, but then I think he got it and it wasn't exactly what he was hoping for. So I think his plan again was to sort of convert it and flip it, but make it like a camper.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
because it's big.
But anyway, so I guess he would. Yeah, so he was driving from Minnesota, and I guess he and my mom had been talking, and they were sort of like, talking about his timing and when I would be leaving, and so like I guess it was this weird ballet of trying to figure out how to arrive after I left and all this, right? Well, I think he ultimately just decided, fuck it, like it doesn't matter, and he showed up, and my mom was worried about it, and we overlapped by a couple days. He stayed in my mom's, because she has this little casita behind her house, so he could stay there without being in the same building as us, and he mostly kept to himself, but we sat down, the three of us sat down for dinner at one point, and we had kind of an awkward sort of like very superficial exchange about the Philadelphia Eagles. My mom's a big Eagles fan, and my brother's a big football Eagles fan still to some degree, and
common ground.
It was fine. That was kind of what we talked about. It was fine. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I've been thinking about like what is the reason I don't talk to him or my youngest brother? Mm-hmm. Like You know, because there's not like a clear with my sister. We don't talk, and it's like very clear. There's a very specific event that it just kind of like blew everything. It was like she threw a nuclear bomb into her connection with the family, and it's like, you know, the bomb went off, and you know the the fallout was we don't talk to her, and that's super crystal clear. With my brothers, it's definitely a little harder to sort of explain. It's a little fuzzier. And I've been trying to think about, because I was thinking, oh, maybe this is with the holidays coming up. It's something I feel every year. Like, it's super weird that I don't talk to my brothers. On the one hand, it's super weird. On the other hand, it's like it took almost no effort to stop talking to them, because they literally never made much effort. Like, as uncles, I don't think they ever sent my kids a single thing ever on a Christmas or a birthday or anything. You know, it's just like they didn't have money, and they were in there. It's just like their personality. And our family, to some extent, is like that. Like, we never were really big on holidays. We just, or wishing each other, you know, we got along. Everybody loved each other, got along growing up. But we'd constantly forget each other's birthdays and stuff, right? Like, it wasn't a big deal. So I'm not like, even when I talk about the zero effort and they never sent anything, it's not like that was a point of grievance or for me or anything. It's just like it's just a fact that they never, I don't think they ever called me on my birthday, sent me anything, emailed me, maybe text me once, one of them maybe, or my kids' like never ever. So we would call them and they would talk to my kids and stuff, whatever, like periodically, but it was always me. So like going no contact, you know, it was me. I just decided, well, I'm the only one making any effort anyway. And I decided, like, I was not getting anything good out of those relationships at some point. And I guess that's the really simple explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that contrasts. So this summer I went up to that reunion north of Toronto with my new aunt, who we discovered via 23andMe or something. And then my dad's cousins, who are in their 80s, and my dad's first cousins, and then their children, you know, a little bit, that we hung out with them. And I remember, it's not that, I don't want to use the word jealous, but I would like to use the word like admiring of. I was admiring of, they had, you know, five
Who's they? Sorry, when you say they.
One set of my great uncle Toby, my grandfather's brother, had married into a family that had a set of cabins around the lake, maybe 7 cabins, let's say. And every summer, all the cousins would go up with their moms and dads, and they'd stay there the whole summer. And the dads would leave like 5 a.m. on Monday to get to the office in Toronto. It's like 2 hours. And then they'd come back on like Thursday night or something, and they would just all summer long run barefoot up and down the cove and swim and fish, and, you know. And I was like, wow, just the idea that kind of bonding of a family where you end up, then later on when you're in college, you hang out, you go, they're like, you're integrated as a family, right? And I was admiring.
Yeah, my cousins are like that. You know, my dad's brother, who just passed away.
Dallin? No, Dallin was the granddad.
He was the father, yeah. My uncle, and my aunt, who my daughter's named after, Naomi, she's still around. You know, she's 90. She just turned 90.
Wow.
Anyway, that whole family, you know, they have a place on Lake Michigan. They go there.
Did I go there? I went there, right?
Yeah, we went there.
That's right, we went there.
So that's their place, and they get together a lot, and they're very close, and all those siblings. I will say that, you know, they have one sibling who's, you know, more on the MAGA side of the world. And I think that sibling is kind of on the outs with the family. And, you know, it's just weird. Like this political era has done that to a lot of families, which is, you know, definitely, I think that my family, it's like, it is the proximate cause of the estrangement between me and my brothers. But they aren't MAGA in the normal way that other people are MAGA. So there's some other stuff woven in there. Yeah.
Right.
But it's definitely part of it for sure. Yeah.
I remember we talked about how,
just like when somebody has such a distinctly different worldview, like their moral compass and their sense of objective reality is so different that it's just hard to be around them in a way. Yeah.
I
Anyway.
remember we talked about that there's many paths to your sort of final, I hate to say resting place politically, your final seat
Yeah.
in the political spectrum. But like there's this whole thing that like if you move far enough to the left, you are right.
Yeah, the horseshoe effect.
The
right?
horseshoe effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fascinating. That I'm trying to think of. I can't think of anyone who. I guess like Rand Paul's dad.
Well, there's like the
so-
extreme libertarian that drifts into like the individual sovereignty movement, right? And that whole thing has like definitely reconnects back to the far left in some ways.
Well,
I
like
think,
Rand Paul's dad was the sort of original libertarian that I had sort of understood or had seen, you know, and he was saying he was pro-choice and pro-marijuana back in the 80s because he said,
Yeah,
like,
he's
why
extreme
should
libertarian,
the
yeah.
government tell me what to take out of my body or put into my body? It's none of their business. Get the hell out.
Yeah.
And so, like, and then the Tea Party people came along and they were like, wait a second, let's actually use the government to tell people what to do. And so they pulled apart, right? Like they really.
Yeah. Like the post Tea Party reactionary right wing is very much in like the, hey, we're done with the libertarian like personal freedom thing. We're all about like personal freedom. What that resulted in was all these people living in ways that we don't like
Right.
to have nearby. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, and that I think that has manifested in a lot of different ways. Like there's the sort of the right wing, there's the evangelical culture war stuff where it's like we don't want trans people and we don't want people speaking other languages like around us, and that's annoying, right? And so like, and their skin is different and whatever. Like there's that sort of like culture war stuff, but then there's also
there is the problem that they're eating the dogs.
yeah, yeah, right.
They're eating the cats.
Yeah, so racist. I mean, it's unbelievable how transparently racist it all is. Like that stuff used to be like, I don't know. It's interesting because I don't know. Like it was all there. Obviously, it was just being, it's like that. John Gans has this model of talking about the respectable Nazis and the respectability Nazis and the gutter Nazis, right? And there used to be a separation between like the respectability, like the William F. Buckleys, right? Who are like, we don't speak like that in public. Like he sort of made a little bit of a theatrical thing about kicking certain people out of the, the magazine that he had, but the National Review, right?
Yeah, sure.
And he made like a sort of a production out of getting some of the far right people out of, but he embraced so many other Nazi far right anti-Semites, right? Like it was just, he did it in a quieter way, couched in like respectable language, right?
Yeah.
And John Gans had a really good recent piece about, like how that when Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his thing, that caused this blowback, that caused this fracturing in the right. He was basically saying, hey, this is the respectability Nazis. Tucker Carlson represents that wing of the far right sort of Nazi sort of viewpoint, and Nick Fuentes is the gutter Nazi. He just says the stuff out loud, right? Like, and basically, like the right seems to be shedding this idea that it needs to be respectable. Like they seem to be drifting to, we can just say it now. And with stuff like they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. I mean, that's basically right up to the edge, right? Like that's just like, it's so close to stuff that like Goebbels and Hitler said.
Right. Can we hang a little tile up during this section called like the National Enquirer?
Yeah.
Because I just need to say, I heard this week that Nick Fuentes was explaining that he's a virgin. And the guy who was interviewing him was saying, so are you an incel?
Yeah, like, and he proudly embraces being an incel. Yeah,
and
he's just like, yeah, I'm an incel.
He said something like, well, women are so horrible and immoral that I can't be near them, so of course I can't have sex with them. And it was kind of like
yeah.
Weird.
So that's the place that these guys have arrived at. It's women's fault, right? It's got to be women's fault
that he's an incel.
There was a viral video I saw yesterday. I should put it in the show notes. I saw it yesterday or the day before, and this guy was like, I've seen this video now like 4 times, like come across my feed in different ways. So I saw it the other day. But basically, this guy, he's like, women used to depend on men for like incomes, and there were a lot of in housing, right? Like you had to sort of marry a man. There was a day and age where a woman had to kind of get married to basically prosper in the world, right? in America. And like at some point, women entered the workforce and they had their own careers, they had their own education, they had their own money and income, and so they didn't need those things for men. They didn't need to look for those things when they were like looking for a man.
Right.
They didn't need to evaluate whether the man could provide for them. I mean, they used to need to evaluate whether the man could. Now they don't need. If anything, women make more, on average at this point. Like their higher rates of college degrees and all this, right? And so he was like, so at some point, women, what they started looking for in men was like character, and and like, personality, and intelligence and charisma, and kindness. Kindness, right? Like he was like, at some point they started to evaluate men based on like who they are as people,
right.
rather than what they could provide.
Right.
And as a consequence, that's why all the men are single, because they just didn't pass that test. Right. Right. And Nick Fuentes is a perfect example. And instead of men looking at themselves and going, oh shit, we're not passing the test, they're like, oh, women are terrible.
Yeah. So here's an interesting question. My parents and I were talking about the fact that, so if you remember, my daughters and I were watching the Lincoln biopic by, what's his name, from Schindler's List?
Spielberg.
Yeah. So the Spielberg-Lincoln biopic. And,
with Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln.
Yeah. And I guess it's after the war's over, and they're debating the 14th Amendment, and they're sort of debating in Congress. And they're saying, okay, so let's just say that we give black men the right to vote. There's a slippery slope, because who's next? Women?
Yeah.
And you realize that America, weirdly America, not because we were a British colony, right? America is, and the British had Margaret Thatcher in the 80s.
Yeah.
So but we're more misogynist than we're racist.
It's very interesting.
It's very interesting. Why is that? That's a big, huge question mark. Like, why? Like they had,
many countries that you think of as very paternalistic have had women.
Italy.
Like even in Latin America, Italy.
Italy. I mean, the mayor of Bogota was a lesbian. Like,
totally.
Like
I mean, you look at Latin
country.
America now. There's a handful, like Mexico now, right?
Scheinbaum.
So,
Scheinbaum is a Jew, of Jewish ancestry, doctorate. Like it's how
totally
how are we doing this?
Right. Of all people in Mexico to get elected, like she's so unlikely. Yeah.
Like think of like the mayor of Bogota was a lesbian. Like to me,
talk about a paternalistic society. Like Yeah, and here this Jewish woman is the
who's a PhD in physics. Like it's like even like an elite scientist. Like it just seems so the opposite of MAGA. Right?
Weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. But so that's sort of the big outstanding question is, how did we Americans become more misogynistic than our colonial overlords were? Or I guess really became, because maybe back then they were.
It is interesting because like when there have been credible women running, like. When I look at Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris, right, for example, I go, like there is a misogynistic reaction to them as candidates, for sure, 100%. At the same time, like I don't like either of them as politicians. Like I think Hillary Clinton did a fine job as Secretary of State, but like I didn't want Hillary Clinton to be president. Like I'm done with the Clintons, right?
Right.
Like the only reason I wanted her to be president is because I didn't want Trump to be president.
Right.
Like she was like my 50th pick. Yeah. Right.
I was a Bernie bro.
Kamala Harris is like could hardly be a worse politician, right? Like she's just bad. So there is a part of me that's like with those particular people, the misogynistic argument that they lost because of misogyny is a little too simple to me.
No, that's a very good point.
I can't stand either of them.
That's a great point.
At the same time, like I really liked, say, Elizabeth Warren, right? I liked her a lot, and she was my favorite for a stretch. And
me too.
And I do remember people reacting to her like I can't, and actually to some extent, like I definitely witnessed for all three of them. I've witnessed that misogyny when you hear people say I just can't stand her voice or whatever. You know what I mean? Like their critiques are not substantive at all. It's all there is a serious current of misogyny that ran against them for sure, and you hear it in certain people's reactions. So I just think it's a little bit too simplistic, and there is part of me that goes, that kind of misogyny probably exists in all those places.
Right.
And we probably and so like I wonder, I just don't have enough data, but like I wonder, like, to what extent have we just not had the right candidate, the right female candidate?
That is fair. That is certainly fair. And I was too young to really understand who Margaret Thatcher was in the conservative movement in England. But like, and for instance, I do want to, before we go on, I have to my wife asked me to make a correction.
Okay.
When we were talking about hydrogen being a greenhouse gas, I said it turns out that hydrogen is the worst greenhouse gas. Okay. And my wife texted me a very long explanation of why that was incorrect and that I should correct it. So it's not the worst. It's worse than we thought.
Okay.
You don't want to release hydrogen gas into the atmosphere by accident with a leak. And it's hard to keep it from leaking.
Yeah.
To keep it very cold requires a lot of energy to keep it cold and contained. But it's not the worst. I think the worst hydrogen gas is like an isotope of methane that is whatever. So that I wanted to make that correction. And then the second thing I wanted to say is, like, I heard this thing about Margaret Thatcher that blew my mind. So you know how Norway has a sovereign wealth fund from their OPEC oil reserves?
Yeah.
And it's approximately like each person has about $265,000 worth of stock in the fund, like each Norwegian. England, Margaret Thatcher sold off and privatized the North Sea oil, shares to, and England has one of the highest billionaire populations in the world because of that. And the British people don't have a sovereign wealth fund from their oil. It just was it was a robbery, like an absolute for a fairly socialist country, that has public health care and stuff. They were robbed by Margaret Thatcher because they ended up with no money from the oil, and there's a bunch of billionaires who have the oil. So, hey, let's just point that out.
It's just like, kind of goes back to this idea that we make choices. It's not like people sort of characterize it as their money, and if we tax them or whatever, we're taking their money.
Right.
But I think of it totally the inverse of that. I think of it as there's all this money that has been produced in different ways, and we've decided as a society to give these guys, we've given these guys money through like tax code that benefits them, whatever, like through like selling off oil in a certain way, in a certain context, right? Like there's different ways that we've made choices as a society. It's not that we haven't made the choice to take their money. We've made choices to give them that money in the first place.
Yeah. And like I saw, is his name James Tellerico? Right. So I saw my sister who really admires him a lot, and she was pushing for him for Senate, and she goes, the guy is like a Barack Obama's talent. And I said, okay, show me. She shows me a thing, and this dude goes, you got to admit that it's terrible that these, African American single moms
like
are welfare queens. And his thing is like, dude, have you looked at the billionaires? Like the billionaires are
like, how much do we subsidize these people? And we've given them their money. Right?
Chevron is like bragging about record profits, and it's like 100%. How much they have like $79 billion in tax subsidies per year, and you're like,
I saw that clip.
That's a welfare queen? Like,
exactly that. And so there's this story, for some reason, there's a simple version of America right now in some ways. It's like basically you have extremely wealthy, greedy sociopaths that have managed to, tilt everything in their own favor. At the same time, they've successfully told a story to convince enough people that there's this, they've convinced enough people of this other story that like we're all we've all sort of like pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, or if you haven't, it's your personal failure, and their money is theirs, and if we do anything with it, we're taking we're taking their money and giving it to people who don't deserve it, right? Like that's the story that so many people have been duped to believe from those guys, right? And then we fight about the stupidest shit.
I'm brainstorming right now like a campaign ad.
Yeah.
Imagine this. So we have some idiot like that guy complaining to James Tallarico saying like, oh, welfare queens. And we simply, so when Bloomberg was running in the primary, he had a really, really blew my mind how crystal clear and pithy and sort of haiku-like. But he just spent $500 million on his primary campaign, but he spent a lot of it beating up on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he would take out in in the Times Square and in the thing that goes around Vegas, those ticker tape things. And he had these ads that would just say, Donald Trump cheats at golf. Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times.
Yeah.
Donald Trump had 3 wives and cheated on them. You know, somebody that cheated on all 3 wives. And they just were these pithy sentences. So it'd be interesting to have someone say that, like welfare queen, and you could say, Harlan Crow is worth 579,000 welfare queens. Like he's damaging, he's stealing your money as much as 579,000 welfare queens, whatever that number is.
He's the super welfare queen. Yeah. Exactly.
And you could put a number to it. Be like he's worth, like Harlan Crow is worth, or you could say Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And then actually calculate how many welfare queens they're worth.
I feel like the story is changing. It seems like the progressive or the, whatever you want to call it, the leftist economic populism is on the rise for sure.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that people like James Tallarico, the fact that he's getting traction in the ways that he is a lot to do with his political talent, but I think the particular message he's carrying. There was a recent. I don't want to talk too much about politics, but there was, I guess, there's this sort of because of when a party loses an election, they do a postmortem sometimes. And back in, I guess when Barack Obama won. The Republicans did a postmortem, and famously, like their postmortem was like, we need to be more immigrant friendly and all this stuff, and they just went completely opposite from that, right? Like
really?
they just said screw that, and it worked, right? Like it worked narrowly with an electoral college kind of hack in 2016. Like they went the completely opposite direction of their postmortem.
I think they re-embraced Nixon's Southern strategy is what they did.
Well, yeah, and the polls didn't favor them at all, and they lost the popular vote. But through like the Electoral College, they managed to eke out a victory doing the opposite of what their own postmortem told them was a good idea. And so they've doubled down, and it worked again, right? But the Democrats did a postmortem after 2024, and so I just read yesterday that they decided to not release it.
I saw that. I saw the same idea.
So like the speculation is, and this is speculation, but the speculation is that their own postmortem is telling them the sort of like revealing the power of the economic populist movement.
Yep.
And that they don't want that to be the.
Yeah, I know.
They don't want that to define their party, the next generation of the. And so that's all speculation, and I think the report will get leaked at some point because like. Deciding not to release it is almost an invitation for somebody to leak it,
or to figure it out.
So I think we'll see it at some point. But that's my assumption. That's my guess about what's in it. Is it basically is saying like the message that resonates, the message that got like it's the Mamdani story, right? Like
it's
young people, working class people, the people we want to be voting for us as a party, like the people we've lost, young people, Latin American voters. We backslid among Latin American voters and black voters, weirdly moved toward Trump in 2024. Working class people we lost a long time ago, right? Like in the Democratic Party, they talk about that all the time. These are the voters we've lost. We need to figure out how to get them back. Well, I think that Mamdani showed the answer to that pretty clearly. But they're just like they're falling over themselves to explain that away as, it's New York City. It's a unique, you can't extrapolate that to the country. You know, he was running against Cuomo, like, you know, the guy sexually assaulted 13 women, right? Like, they want to come up with any reason why it can't be because he's economic populist. It has to be something else, right? So, but the more that these kinds of candidates win, the less they're able to say that, right? So,
and remember, if we do go back to 2016, and the Russians leaked those emails in the Democratic Party where they maneuvered to push Bernie out of the party because that movement was rising,
and
all
Bernie
the Rust Belt
remains like the
states
most popular politician in the country, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing that they have. Whenever that claim is made, Bernie's the most popular politician in the country. It's interesting to see the kinds of pushback just that claim gets. Like they're very. They'll like find all kinds of ways to nitpick the veracity of that particular claim. Well, he's not popular because blah blah blah, you know, like, and they use really weird, like if you're a smart person about the data and analytics at all, you can see that sort of the tricks they're doing to like make him look less popular than he is. But anyway.
No, it's fascinating, and it's also, you know, it's gonna. I think what'll be great, and one of the things about remember that when Biden pulled out so late and we didn't have a primary, it will be interesting to see with this next batch of stars, you know, the Josh Shapiros and the, you know, Gavin Newsoms and Gretchen Whitmers and whoever else comes forward. It'll be interesting to see who ends up winning that. You know, I hope it's not like a popularity contest with Gavin Newsom looks like, you know, a movie star and we just all. Yeah. I hope it's that we actually look at a Mamdani like win and say. So one thing that happened.
I mean, you know, Gavin Newsom's a talented politician, and I think that like to the extent that this economic populist movement is real, I think that what we'll see is they'll all, or many of them will be able to speak that language.
Yeah.
And then the question will be like, who's actually credible when they speak that language? You know what I mean? Like when Gavin Newsom says economic populist things. When he like latches on to the right sort of rhetoric and talking points and policy sort of proposals, suggestions, whatever, I mean, it'll be cool. And then, so there'll be this question like, all right, does he mean it? Is he sincere? And who, you know, like even that question is a little bit like, who cares? Like Biden did some very populist things as president, you know, like, for all his flaws, he actually passed some things that were pretty meaningful. And in the short time, in his short time, that he was like a sharp enough guy to be credible. And
compared to his long, you know, Senate stint, he moved way left. He was 100%. Like pretty far right.
So this question of are they even sincere? Like they want to get elected. So like maybe they're just pandering. But like if passing that bill is pandering, like I'll take it, right? Like if just speaking the language if that's how far as Newsom will go, like I mean that's what I expected of Biden. Is he just speaking the language to get elected? Is he pandering? But it's like, okay, well I'm gonna pass this bill now. Now I'm really pandering. Okay, fine, we'll take that, right? Like if you do the work, I don't care if you're doing it to stay in power. You know, if there's some cynical reason why you think that, like Lyndon Johnson, he's fucking racist, right?
Yeah,
has some of the most monumental civil rights and, you know, voting reform and all these things.
Social Security, Medicare.
I think he was like a white Texas racist.
Yeah, pretty scary dude.
I mean, you know, that's an oversimplification. It's more nuanced than that. But like, I don't know how much he cared about any of those things. In his heart, he wanted to be president. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it was pure ambition. Maybe it was cynical. I don't care. Like we got the Voting Rights Act and we got the Civil Rights Act, right? So,
I know that you said you don't want to spend the whole episode on politics, but I do want to talk a little bit about that 18-minute speech on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch any of it, but I saw. No, I don't watch any Trump at all. It's kind of like, what's the point? But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. And I watched it with my parents, and it was grueling. 18 minutes of just he didn't take a breath. Yeah. I think they hopped him up on dexamethasone, a little bit of Adderall. I mean, like a little cocktail, maybe a tiny pinch of cocaine. Because the dude was like, yeah, like he was leaning forward and just so aggressive and just shouting like, we're amazing and nothing, everything's coming down and it's so much better. And I was like, dude, just keep talking, man. Keep talking, keep talking. I was so happy. I was like, he literally went in there and he knows, he loved Mamdani in the office. He knows about the affordability and he just can't stand that things are getting worse for people.
Yeah.
And
I know they still call it Biden's inflation. It's like
and
we're going to be 5 years in. They're going to be calling it Biden's inflation.
And Biden had to deal with the pandemic and Trump's inflation and all this. You know,
like when Besant and whatever these guys go on TV, they still call it Biden's inflation. So it's such an absurd thing.
So anyway, I just it was one of those things when, like as an Aikido move, I just was watching. I was like, dude, let him talk. Let him talk. In fact, give him a little more
like, don't
time.
interrupt your enemy.
Exactly.
While they're hurting themselves.
Like, don't never interrupt your enemy while they're making a terrible mistake. That's great. So we'll see what happens with that and when
I don't know. Like I've completely lost faith in the American people. Like it's always been obvious who Trump is, and it's like how many totally unhinged, insane speeches has he given over the years, right? Epstein pictures, hundreds of pictures, more pictures of him with Epstein than most people have with their own parents. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always been obvious who Trump is, and people vote for him anyway. So it's like, nobody's, like, the people who need to see that aren't seeing what we're seeing.
Sure.
Or they're not watching it all.
Yeah, or they don't care because they did see it.
Or they don't care. They're so good at rationalizing that, right? Like, like, I don't know. I have zero faith in anybody to walk away from watching that with the reaction that you're hoping for. But I'll hope along with you.
And one thing I'll say about so remember how Jasmine Crockett hopped in the race for Senate against Tallarico?
Yeah.
And again, first of all, this is a really interesting race because who the front runner on the Republican side is kind of a Cuomo like guy, Ken Paxton. Like Ken Paxton was almost impeached by the Texas Republican. Right.
Yeah.
And he's been an embezzler and he was under investigation for graft and money laundering, and he cheated on his wife when she was sick. And he's just like he's the worst candidate you could have.
He's terrible.
Nobody likes him. So you're running against Ken Paxton. So you're like, So then Jasmine Crockett saw some polling that, okay, so back to what Trump did with his sort of rebooting of the Southern strategy is he activated a group of, and I got in trouble for saying this last time. They tell my people tell me not to say this, but like white trash crackers, like who were like in the Florida woods who never voted, and they came out and they now they registered and they voted and they're proud because he speaks the way I speak and he thinks the way I think. So
a bunch of Archie bunkers.
Yeah. So you look at Jasmine Crockett, and she looked at the polls and she said, wow, Texas has more per capita African-American women that are not registered and not active voters than any state in the country. So would it be interesting if I could activate a group that's non-active? Like if I could sort of pull a Trump and get these people to come out of the woodwork, and that's what Barack Obama did, right? He got all these people came out of the woodwork and registered and were proud to vote and started voting. Yeah. And so she's thinking, well, let's just see what happens if I run. Maybe this huge group of African-American women in Texas.
Yeah, there's this huge swath of people that are just like, I don't vote because I don't want to support the system.
38% of them. I mean, that record was 62%. With Biden Trump was 62% of Americans voted, and 38% left it on the table.
Yeah.
So really, in some ways, and back to the idea that these people think the one thing that the two things I think that Trump isn't aware of, for three things, he's getting sick and old, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
There's a group of people that would go, if he was in the grave, they would be like, he's the
right. I mean, they've been working very hard, or at least a certain group of people has been working very hard to turn Vance into the next candidate, right? Good Lord. To the successor. And, I think like it's very interesting to think about whether that could possibly succeed, right? Like he's a pretty talented politician.
I wouldn't want that job though for
zero charisma.
I wouldn't take $1 million a year to try that job because it just sounds It's like trying to get DeSantis to win. I mean, he's like a robot. And he's
Yeah, I mean, I think Vance is a more talented politician than DeSantis.
Sure.
He has almost as little charisma as DeSantis, like
but he's
natural charisma.
Somewhat
but
funny.
For whatever reason, he's rhetorically really talented.
Yeah.
Like he debate wise and all that.
Sure,
like he did really well against Tim Walz.
He did
in the debate.
It's absolutely true. He's a slick Willie, and
he's slick.
He's a slick Willie, like Clinton was. But I do think so. The three things: Trump is weak and old, and really starting to show. He's falling asleep, and Marco Rubio's yelling at him, and he's just like in the media. It's just like, come on, man! Like that, everyone sees that shit, even on Fox. They're like, the president's listening. He's listening. He's awake. He's just resting, you know. And then the second thing is he's the Epstein thing, which came out of left field, and I never expected it this far in the game to even have so much legs, and it's so sticky. And you've got like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you've got like Bongino's leaving. Like, the Epstein thing is not going away, right?
Not going away, and it shouldn't go away.
And Mike Huckabee said on Wednesday, he's the ambassador to Israel. He said out of the blue in a press conference, the Mossad is definitely not blackmailing anyone with the Epstein files. And everyone was like, we didn't ask you that. It was just the weirdest thing to say, right? So because a lot of the mangas have this conspiracy theory that, that the Mossad killed Charlie Kirk and blah blah blah. It's the whole thing. So anyway, so the third thing is the going back to Carville and Stephanopoulos. Yeah, it is the economy stupid, and Americans more than any other country on the planet are dicks about the economy. Like you look at the inflation rate in France or Germany, and people aren't losing their seats. Americans are like, my eggs are too expensive. My electric bill just went up.
Yeah,
Fuck you. And they just want to change everything. And it's like the economy is fucking bad.
The economy, if the economy's not great, they just take it out on the incumbent.
Yeah.
Like that's such a pattern here.
Especially if they won't admit it. He's saying, even if he says it's Biden's fault, they're like, well, you said you'd fix it. So what the fuck? They're pissed. So
I mean, I think like Trump has the advantage of having this religious cult around him, who just are willing to believe, they're willing to sort of just deny obvious reality all the time. But so then, when that goes away, and you're right, he's old, he'll die. Like that, I think that cult goes away with him. Like nobody can inherit that cult.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't. Certainly not Vance. I don't think Vance.
So there are a lot of other more of opportunistic, that swing voter, the ones who take it out on the incumbent. Like I think there's a lot of those people that might normally be like that just love Trump so much that effect doesn't apply to a certain swath of people. But I think that's not enough. That's a small swath of people, and it's a shrinking group of people.
Well, certainly.
And so when you look at the people who swung towards Trump in New York City, like the Latino voters and young people, and those people are not lovers of Trump. They're coming back to they'll take it out on the incumbent. They're just they're people who barely pay attention to politics, and they're like, the shit sucks right now. I'm voting for the other guy.
Yeah, my sister, who's really actively involved in politics, she told me yesterday at dinner. She said, I work with a bunch of other medical people who are MAGAs. They voted for Donald Trump. And I'll talk to them about, like, I'll say something like, did you see what J.D. Vance said? And they'll literally say, who's J.D. Vance?
Yeah.
And she said something about Stephen Miller. And there was a woman who goes, who's Stephen Miller? And she's like, oh my God. Like, you voted for him and then never looked back and never listened to the news. And like, you do not
that's
pay
so
attention.
frustrating to me because it's like, that's my mom, right? Like, my mom doesn't know she voted for Nazis, right? Like, she just doesn't know. And she doesn't know who any of these people are, like Stephen Miller, right? Like, she's like, I like RFK Jr., and he's cool, and he has some good ideas, and he made good speeches 10 years ago.
On Thursday, defunded the Pediatric Association, like a medical. It's like, what the actual fuck?
Right. Well, not to mention, there, like, I don't know, so many things. But, like, that's her simplistic lens. It's like, he made really speeches 10 years ago that were really, they got me right here, and that's enough, right? It's like, well, I'm voting where he is, so so she would say the same thing. Who's Stephen Miller? Like, she doesn't know.
Totally. So I have a good pivot for us because it's Christmas coming up.
Yeah.
So my mom, being with my mom, my mom's 81, born in 44, so she's just pre-baby boom.
Yeah.
And one thing that
Silent generation.
Are they the silent? I thought
That's
the
what
silent
they call
were.
that. That's what they call that generation, right before the baby boom.
I could be wrong, but I think it's the people who fought in the war, like 20-year-olds at 1945. But my mom was born in 44, so she's 1 year before the baby boom.
My mom calls herself the silent generation.
Oh,
She
really?
could be wrong. Yeah, I don't
It could
know.
be.
Could be
Anyway,
wrong.
it could be wrong,
Because
yeah.
before the baby boom is the silent generation. I think.
Okay, sure.
I don't know if there's another one.
Yeah, like a cusp. My mom's a cusp. Like she's
A cusp,
literally
yeah,
1 year
okay,
before people
sure.
came back.
Anyway,
to the war.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no
Okay, your
problem.
mom.
So what comes up every time I come is, my mom is very nostalgic for a time in America where her mom would host a big meal for Christmas.
Yeah.
And would make gravy in the pot and have like all these like bring out the good china and the silver and like polish it all and like everyone sit down at the table and it was like that's how you kept family together.
Yeah.
And I said, well, the Colombians are here and I might just run to Costco and get a couple of chickens and you know what I mean? Like I don't want to do that. Like I'm cooking in someone else's kitchen. I don't know where everything is. And my mom was just so she was basically not complaining, but just like feeling nostalgic for a time when people did that and it was just expected and everyone did it and you enjoyed it. And I said, it's kind of like with the language. My mom was a linguist and the idea that language will always evolve and it's not bad that it evolves.
Right. But it just is.
But some people are really, kind of like even I sometimes will be resistant to the new like. Well, later maybe for the first world problem, we'll talk about iOS 26 because, ouch, good Lord.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is like being resistant to change and this idea that all of the good, traditions are just through attrition.
Fading away.
Fading away. There you go. All the good traditions are fading away. What's your take on that? And do you guys have a tradition? And does Lonnie's family, for instance, keep it going, and is it falling apart with the next generation?
I mean, there's definitely things that seem to be kind of dissipating into traditions. Like even in the time that I've known my wife's family, like just really basic things. Like they're Filipinos and there are no shoes in the house. Like that's just like Asians don't do shoes in the house. If you ask. Like when my wife and I are watching TV and if there are white people in a house like a condo and it's like a couple and they're lying in bed together with their shoes on, like if they walk in the house and sort of jump onto the bed, if their shoes are on like the couch or a bed, it's like physically traumatizing for my wife to see that on television, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
Very no shoes in the house, and I think I've always been kind of a no shoes in my adult life. But anyway,
wasn't raised that way.
Even when her family has family parties, they've just like abandoned that. They're just like, it's just too much trouble to have everybody take their shoes off, and it's like
we'll vacuum afterwards.
There's going to be a huge pile of shoes in the entryway because like the number of. They have 40, 50 people at some of these parties. Like the number of pairs of shoes that you gotta sort of have in the entryway is crazy. Karaoke, gone. Like they don't do it hardly ever. Yeah,
really?
I can't remember the last time we did that at a family party.
When
we host family parties here, we break out the mic. But like, no, it doesn't really happen. Hardly ever happens.
That. Wow.
So the younger generation doesn't seem to be. I will say this, Thanksgiving, the younger group did bust out a karaoke mic and we were doing it. But the older generation doesn't really participate in that anymore. Yeah. And it was the first time the mic had come out at a party in a long time.
A couple of years ago when my wife was working at the Livermore Lab in Berkeley, Julia and I came with you to a park in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Was that Thanksgiving? That was Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been. I mean, we were doing some outdoor parties because during COVID and stuff.
No, it was definitely Thanksgiving, the end of November, and we slid into the first week of December. So I think
but was it
Thanksgiving.
during COVID? Few years ago?
No.
Oh, okay.
Certainly not, because I flew.
They've
I
done
didn't
some
wear a
things.
mask.
They've done some things at parks and stuff instead of houses, just because it's there's two reasons. One is it's easier time
clean
box
up.
it. Like
Oh,
people
yeah.
leave when they're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the party at the family house, like sometimes those go on for 10 hours.
No, I've been to one of those.
Yeah. So
At
they
a
go
wedding.
on and on. So like it's a little exhausting for the host to be like, you know,
Yeah.
to have dozens of people, and you don't know, like, you know, it starts to sort of peter out, and then a whole new wave of people comes toward, you know, like eight, because they've been at a different party, and it's like, oh, now we're going to go to this one. You know what I mean? So like being in a park allows you to sort of have defined
Yeah, you
hours.
can
Like
just
the
go
party
home
ends
and-
at
yeah.
4.
Yeah. Let me ask
That's how
this,
long we have this space or whatever. Yeah.
because your mother-in-law, did she maybe be the matriarch of those dinners? And because of her situation, is that part of the reason things have changed?
I don't think so. I think it's just partly they're old. Like it's really hard to host a big party for 40 people. And so I think like part of it is that generation. So like it wasn't my wife's mom was the matriarch. Like it's the
okay.
aunties who tended to be the hosts are still around, and they
Okay.
still tend to host the parties.
Okay.
I think different things have happened. Like, you know, like they're all 20 years older than they were 20 years
Okay.
ago.
Yeah,
And
sure,
so
sure.
it's like when they're pushing 80, it's just harder to host that many people and to cook that many things and to clean up after that many people. And even when they all do it and we all and they get help from the younger generation, it's an exhausting enterprise to just do that much. And some of them have husbands that they're taking care of now. You know what I mean? Like or
And vice versa. Yeah.
you know, like one of the aunties, her husband's like he's in pretty poor health, and so like she used to host a bunch of parties, but like that takes a lot of her energy. And yeah, I think it's just they're all older. That's really just that simple. And then the younger generation, just they're more spread out. They're busy with work and yeah. So it's just like I don't know. They haven't you know, it's just like each generation gets a little more dispersed.
Yeah, totally. I think back to amusing ourselves to death and the sort of the march of like technology changing
Yeah.
like American culture, for instance. And they talk about how Henry Ford and that Model T, you know, and then later the airplane made it possible for people to, well, move to farther apart.
Yeah.
And even you know, so I'm thinking like I can't imagine how you could maintain one of those traditions where like I would host and everyone would like fly in to have Christmas dinner with me. Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
seem possible anymore.
Yeah, that like once it gets to a certain level of disbursement, like people spread out around geographically, and
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
that makes it that much harder. That's what happened to my family for sure. I think with my, you know, before this latest round of estrangements, that I think that just with my dad's family and stuff, like they just spread out, and so then we didn't get together. There wasn't the same. You know, like my dad's mom was the magnet for all of it. When she died, it kind of immediately started spreading out. People didn't travel from the place that they were. Like it was already sort of geographically starting to thin out, but that was kind of the final nail in that story.
So we're
Yeah.
going to be hosting at my sister's. My sister's leaving, but 10 of us, including all the Colombian family, my parents, 10 people. And that's where it's kind of on me and my wife to, in my sister's kitchen, to host it. And I'm thinking like, I mean, I guess, you know, I think I'm going to run to Costco and get a couple
Yeah,
of
why
chickens,
not?
you know, what the
Just
heck?
do it. Yeah, it's
Get
easy.
some pizzas and just a bunch
Yeah.
of food, you know, and not have to make it a big, you know, and
No, I
I'm
think that's
pretty good
that's
at,
the right way to do it.
Yeah.
It's the people that matter.
I actually really
You're not
enjoy
trying to
making,
impress it. You're not trying to impress anybody.
I really enjoy making gravy.
Oh, yeah.
So I might just make some gravy just
I like
because,
gravy.
yeah, so gravy's a good one, and it's kind of magic.
Gravy's
'cause-
so good.
so good.
Yeah, my daughter is and I you know, like she is a gravy monster, and she will, if I make gravy and we have potatoes or rice or meat, like she will just, you almost need like a separate tank of gravy next to her.
For her, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like she wants gravy
she loves
soup
it.
with things put in it.
Oh
you
my
know, it's
God,
like-
yeah, she loves
basically
it. And
gravy soup, yeah.
I'm totally down with that.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's, you know, just back to the estrangement thing. Like, yeah, it is sad. It is sad to, like, when I think about, you know, the current obstacles to my family getting together. Like, in those families that do get together and bond. Like, my mom wishes she had that.
Oh yeah.
And Yeah, it is sad. Like I don't know. It's really hard to articulate exactly why. It's just part of like I just don't share objective reality with my brothers. You know, especially my younger brother, not my youngest brother. You know, like it's just every conversation every interaction I had with him, you know, for a period of time was just he just has such strong beliefs, and he can't abide by people that just don't share those beliefs. Like he sort of takes it super personally if you just don't agree with him, and you know then that triggers this lashing out, and it's just this kind of closed off black and white thinking. It's really hard to deal with, and it's kind of like if somebody in your life was like really into saving the elephants, right? You're like, cool, I like elephants, right? But then they couldn't shut up about saving the elephants, and all they want, and like if you weren't as passionate about saving the elephants as they were, then they constantly just got on your case about how you were just this moral sort of aberration or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you'd just be like, I don't want to be around that person. Like I'm cool with elephants, right? But like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like they're using that as this, yeah. So it's something along those lines. It just is like I just can't. I just don't want. It's just not. It's not good to be around. I don't like being around in the company of that. It's just not. Anyway, but my youngest brother, it's a little different. Like I blocked him online because I just couldn't. I just thought his social media was so toxic. But I, you know, like I didn't block him out of my life, but I don't really talk to him. I think it's a similar thing, but just to a different degree than my other brother. It's just like our views are really different, and his just the conspiracy theories and stuff, right? Like his objective reality is so different than mine. The things he believes that are real or not real. He has very strong beliefs, and both of my brothers do. They have very strong beliefs in stuff like chemtrails and vaccines are bad, and just things that I think like are not, you know, the data, the evidence doesn't support any of it, but like they're so firmly in those trenches, and they can't tolerate anything that, you know, it's just like it's just such a different reality, and it's hard for me to be around it. It makes me feel a little bit insane to have reality like challenge that much or something.
Last episode we talked about cognitive bias. Is that what? No.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to understand. Like, I gave the example of having trouble with coffee, like feeling jittery and having stomachache, and then like reading study after study after study until I found one that was exactly what I wanted to hear. And I was like, she's right. She has done all the work and everyone else is wrong. And it's like, I knew that when I thought that it was a lie. Like I knew that I was ignoring 12 studies and the next, 13, 14, 15. And I just was like focusing on the one that I wanted. And I kind of teased myself about it. But I'm also trying to understand, like, I'd love to just examine myself in ways where I'm literally have gone down a rabbit hole and I just am blind to the fact that I'm doing it, is what I'd like to know. I'd like to know, maybe I need someone else to tell me.
I'm sure we all have those things. I'm 100% sure that I have blind spots, and there are ways that I've tried to be self-aware enough to know, I'm using this heuristic for this belief that is like, I'm not using evidence, but I'm using a heuristic. Like climate change is a good example. Like I have not gone and tested the atmosphere, right? Like, but my heuristic for believing that climate change is real is that 90% of scientists have, whatever. Like, but I'm aware that that's a heuristic. Like the consensus of science is a heuristic I'm using to trust the science. I haven't done the actual science, right? And so knowing that you're using a heuristic instead of hard evidence is a good, useful thing. Like there's lots of things like that where I try to be self-aware, but I'm sure there are areas where I'm operating with a bias, I'm sure. Yeah. And that I don't know it.
Well, I guess one of the reasons that we trust academia is that, like with the scientific method, and then someone publishes a paper and they reveal the techniques by which they took captured the data and analyzed it, and then they offer it to other people in their
Yeah,
field.
we trust the scientific method, right? Like we
people
trust
will
we
the
trust
same-
that people are following the scientific method for the most part, and that the system filters out the people who are cheating or
there are stories of like, a Japanese researcher who claimed to have created some kind of, I don't know, fission or some kind of cellular division thing, and it turned out that she was just faking her data, and everyone called her on it, and they couldn't get the same results, and whatever. So
and yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so my point was, if the flat, like I saw like a flat earther video where these diehard, like very popular podcasters or YouTubers got out on a hill and they were doing this thing with the level, and then he went in, and it was further, and he was like, oh my God, it doesn't work, like it's not flat, and
right.
and I admire that they went out and actually tried it.
Yeah.
I don't know that they admit now that the Earth is round, but
exactly. And so then, or if they do, like their followers just reject that person to be like, oh, he's a shill now, right? So there's like a religion. So I remember having little debates with my brother when he was really working hard to convince me that the vaccines were. And this was one of my problems, is that like one day it was the vaccines are ineffective, the other day it was they were dangerous, right? It was like, which is it, right? Well, it doesn't matter. There's just this kitchen sink of vaccines are bad, and so that automatically to me was a little bit of a problem. Like you're so incoherent about like which argument are you making? You're not consistent. Like make a claim and then support that claim with evidence. Like are the vaccines unsafe or are they just ineffective? Like those are two different things.
Two very different things. Yeah.
And so then even just asking him to be precise would already trigger him into like a violent reaction. And it was just like, okay, then don't try to convince me. Like, I don't care about even having this conversation, but if we're going to have it, like, I'm going to ask you for a certain amount of precision, like make a precise claim and then defend that claim with it. Here's how communication works, right? Here's how arguments work. And it's just like, he just had a religious belief. So that was number one. And then, if I could ever pin him down into making a claim, then he would send me like his evidence, and I'd be like, I would point out like, oh, there's a base rate error you're making right here. Like you just don't understand like what per capita means in this context. And it would just be like an obvious mistake. Right. And again, that would be like, because he didn't scrutinize the evidence. It was just like, oh, it was some podcast that he heard this thing. And it was like, dude, like it's a simple base rate error you're making. Like you didn't understand the evidence you sent me. Obviously, it doesn't say what you think it said. Right? And that's exhausting. Because then they just pivot to a different thing. Because it isn't about, they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in making you believe the thing they believe.
Right.
So it's like, we could arrive at the truth, and I might be wrong. Like, I'm fully willing to admit I could be wrong, but like, I want to be convinced that I'm wrong through like actual arguments that I can identify with evidence that backs up those arguments. And it's just like, that's not the conversation those kinds of people are interested in having. I mean, like if they don't know what per capita means, you can't argue with the person. Like you don't even know what per capita is doing in this formula.
And one of the things that really, really burned me out in the corporate world was that I, as the like digital marketing manager for this really big company, was supposed to take all of the sort of non-compliant legacy websites we had and to like make them compliant. And we had this one big, huge unified plan. And none of the marketing people on the sales side liked change. Like they just wanted to keep it the same way it was, even though it wasn't quote unquote working. And I just got, I guess we talked about how I think I shouldn't be a politician because I'm too grumpy. Like I just was so frustrated. Like, and I would make these pitches to them where I just would, and I would boil it down to these very haiku, like 2 times 3 times 5.
Yeah.
And they would be like, no, we like the old one, and I would just be like, like, I don't know what else to do. Like,
it's exhausting to run into dogma, like dogmatic, and people that are entrenched in something because of some dogmatic thing that it doesn't have a rational basis. They can't explain it. It's just like so exhausting.
It is so exhausting. Yeah. And I used to, I would love to pivot to because I would love to pivot
Yeah.
and just complain.
I have to wrap it up in a minute too.
Okay,
'cause I have
perfect.
another call at
My
12.
very
so
quick,
let's-
we might have to do a series where we complain about iOS 26. But my complaint about iOS 26, which is a first world problem, is that they've moved in this direction where they want to kind of bring everything into like a thing that you have to unpack before you can see, like let's say tabs on the Safari browser.
Yeah.
I want to see the old thing where I could just see all my tabs that are open,
Right.
pick which one I want.
Yeah.
But I have to there's 2 clicks to get to that old view. And you can go in and you can change some of the settings to the old way,
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't quite understand for software developers or UI designers, like why that's better. So tell me if that is better, like to compress things so that there's more clicks to get to what you want.
No, that's not better.
It's not
I don't
better.
know.
Okay.
Like,
admit.
Somebody put it pretty well the other day. They weren't talking about iOS in particular, but like they were just talking about this sort of the in-shitification, and the way they framed it, the way they described it was, it's like I thought this sentence, I have to remember how it went, because the sentence was so beautifully expressed. It was so basically like, it feels like today corporations, like, they resent that they have to go through you to get to your money.
That's a really great way to put it. They resent they have to go through you.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're mad that they have to go through you to get to your money, and that's what products feel like these days. They feel like almost hostile and predatory to like.
Yeah.
And so I think like Jeff Raskin, the guy who wrote the Humane Interface back in the day, was an early Apple designer, right?
Oh, nice,
and he was the one who like came up with things like drag and drop. Like it was like, oh, you should be able to do things that map to like how you on a digital space that map to how you would do things in a physical space, and it should be sort of the idea of being user friendly, right? And that was Apple's legacy. And no, I mean there is no. What you're saying, like it takes more clicks to get the things, that's hostile. That's not better. And there may be some way that it's better, that there may be some other trade-off where it is reducing clicks in some other way. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't like it. Like the contacts is another one. They consolidated contacts all into one screen, I think. Yeah.
So you can't find your favorites unless you.
Yeah, your favorites are like floating at the top, and then they're like, but it's like you have to. I didn't even know it was my favorites. I'm like, where did my favorites go? And then I thought, I think these are my favorites, kind of at the top, and I have to click more.
I went
see
back
all
to
or something. Yeah.
Well, before the iOS 26, like maybe a year ago, they changed the photo app so that it like had these different. As you scrolled up, there were different sections like often seen, or like these weird like categories that were like recently deleted, and it was like a little, and you could say more, and it's like they were assuming that you wanted to see
Apple's
them in that
a little
order.
bit unique because other companies test things a lot before they release them, and they're like, oh, is this better or is it not better?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we used to operate. We used to do a ton of usability testing when I was working in different software, and when we wanted to make a major change to an interface, Apple just operates differently. They don't like to reveal anything. They're very secretive, and they like to unveil it to the public. And so they're very sensitive and afraid of anything leaking ahead of time. And so they just trust their own intuitions about design, and they just release it as an improvement. Trust us, bro, kind of thing. And that's just different than other company. I don't know how many companies do user testing and stuff anymore, but like, ideally, that's what you should do. If you have a big change that you're thinking is better, you should go out and test it with people and see, is it better? And then you iterate and you refine it, or you revert it and you go, oh, it wasn't better. We'll keep it the way it is. And
I remember
just
when you were
abandon the
working on
project.
SingaporeAirlines.com, I was blown away by the fact that you'd have a group of people and you'd say, I want you to book a flight to Paris.
Yeah.
And then you would just capture all the clicks and the mistakes and where they got stuck. And it seemed to me like, wow, that's the way to make it super smooth. Like the UI, like the user journey.
Yeah, what are they trying to do here? Yeah.
Yeah. And you could, and like you see all the places, like the latest thing on the photos is if you click on a photo, it brings open a new preview app, and you can't swipe. You can't swipe to see the next one in the folder. And so then you can actually, if it said to fix that, you click and hold, and then you bring it up and you say open with quick look,
Oh my God.
and then you can
So
swipe.
they're
and
trying
it's
to
like,
make it with like Mac OS in that way.
I guess.
Because like when you go to the space bar, that's quick look. When you
yeah. I always
Yeah.
use quick look on
It's like
macOS.
that. Yeah.
But they
They're
make
trying to,
you
oh
that's
my
not by
God.
default.
Yeah, you don't have a space bar on your fucking phone.
Yeah.
So
So there's no way to do it unless you.
that's stupid.
You have to. That takes. You have to click and hold, and then there's like 12 things you can do, and it says use quick look to open. And once you've
Yeah.
done that, you can swipe. But it's like
It's a good first world problem. It's
Okay, perfect, yeah.
stupid. Yeah.
I mean,
All
you
right.
wanna pull it?
I got to go.
Yay! Happy holidays to everyone. Thanks. Have satellite
Likewise.
haiku. Take care,
All right,
man.
brother.
Big love. All right.
care.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Satellites? A satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth.